Behind the Cape. So we've been talking quite a bit about this. Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler, Jim Crow Blade movie.
Literally the Blade script. Like they're getting everybody. They got Mia Goth, which was supposed to be the villain in the original script. They got Delroy Lindo, who was supposed to be Whistler.
Delroy Lindo. He's supposedly been added to the cast.
Damn. Well, I kind of jumped the gun on that. But yes, yeah, this is it is literally turning into what they were trying to do. It feels like initially with Blade.
Yeah.
But Ryan wasn't involved in that project. Neither was Michael B. Jordan. So I'm really confused.
And neither was WB.
Neither was WB. Still not in love with the whole Jim Crow stuff. I really, God, honestly don't know why that needs to be in this movie. Like, if you want to make a period film about two twin black vampires, you can do that without acknowledging racism.
Sure.
You're going to do that without writing white supremacy into your film.
Absolutely.
I think we could all benefit from some more stuff that doesn't include that shit, you know? Just because it exists doesn't mean we have to constantly talk about it and put it in all of our art.
But you don't think Delroy Lindo being added to the cast makes it a little bit more?
I don't think that changes the calculus whatsoever. I think they're good actors in trauma films all the time.
I just meant like
we've seen a whole cast
really seem that legitimate at first, and now it's kind of starting to seem like it's.
Yeah, I mean,
it's getting late.
We are far away from a finished product, but the fact that they keep talking about it lets me know that it has a lot of steam, and they are casting actors. So, yeah, I don't know really what to expect in terms of how I'll enjoy the movie, but you know, it's definitely not. It's not looking too good. They've got a good cast, and so that is strong, right? But just the premise. The way that certain films have been coming over with audiences, especially black audiences over the last couple of years, man, it is just not, especially in a fantasy space, right? Like white people for very obvious reasons are not going to want to fuck with this film. Black people, I think, in an uncommon way, are going to buck this premise because we are tired of having to see ourselves in subservient lights to white supremacy. Even in a fantastical realm, like, don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. And so now we got two supernatural figures, two vampires, twin vampires, who are somehow going to still be subservient to white supremacy, somehow, some way.
The things that you're talking about makes it sound like you're talking about the Society of Magical
Negroes, right? Like, that's what I'm saying.
Which is at 2.5 million, I think, box office right now. Insane.
Put that bury that shit out back. I don't think people were asking for this. I don't think this is the break from structure that people were looking for. People being me for Ryan Coogler. In terms of some of the tropes that he leans on as a creator.
Sure.
If this was supposed to be the swing that shows that I don't need an established property to work from, I don't need established IP to adapt. I can do an original. I don't need somebody's life to write about.
I don't need an already preset story.
Yeah, I can do it original. This is not a good swing, you know? It's not. Like, from what we know about the project already, it's not a good swing.
Yeah.
It's too similar to something that's already actively being made.
Maybe.
This is like Minority Report and that movie that Ben Affleck made with Uma Thurman, like, it was about the same time, the same premise. Can't remember what it was called though, but it was basically the same movie as Minority Report. They came out at the same fucking time. I hate when movies do that. Paycheck. Yeah. Why didn't I just say Paycheck? Paycheck was at the front of my head.
Yikes. Oh my God. Looking at the plot thing. It
is basically Minority Report. And those movies came out like within like a half a year of each other.
Yeah. Somewhere around there. Yeah. Oh, this came out Christmas 2003. John Woo directed the Paycheck.
John Woo, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Anyway, got some other movies that are either in development or now have a trailer. So let's see what you think about them. First one, Mandalorian and Grogu set for 2026.
Yeah, don't like how it got reorged. It was originally going to be the first movie to premiere, first movie to come out of the new slate. Now it seems like it's going to be second to the Ridley movie, to the Rey movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not in love with that. Also, not in love with how we're just going to pop up back in the theater for Mando and Grogu, basically off of what we've seen from them at the end of Mando season 3. And that's going to leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. If the rumor is true about them not doing a Mando season 4 and them just jumping towards the movie,
yeah,
I feel like that's
too much time in between.
Not only is it too much time, they didn't leave off on a good note. Like, you need a rehabilitation period for those characters before you introduce them to the big screen. If they would have gone to the big screen off of season 2, off of Luke coming back, getting Grogu, taking off with him, starting his training, Din Djarin taking off his helmet, showing his face to Grogu. Perfect time to go to the big screen. Perfect time. It's like nobody has a feel for what's going on, about how people feel, where actual excitement is within the fan base. Nobody has a feel for that anymore, because Mando season 2 was the time. That is a time that you could have theoretically put Din Djarin and Grogu on the big screen and people would have just thrown their money at it. Mm-hmm. Will they do it today when merchandising sales for your best merchandising piece, Grogu, is already going down? I don't know. I don't think so. Like, does it feel like Star Wars as a property is healthy enough to get people to come out and watch a movie for a television show? Does it feel like they're in that good of a place? So for comparisons purposes, that's like at one point in time, people thought that Walking Dead was going to end up having a movie, right? So the time for that probably would have been somewhere in between when they started the Governor arc and Negan, right? Getting introduced to Negan and that whole arc playing out. That probably was the window for something like that to happen. And then everything before or beyond wasn't big enough. Crowd wasn't big enough. Attention to the brand wasn't big enough to warrant putting in millions of dollars for a film, right? So if we know that, if that's the kind of example we're setting it for Walking Dead, that window is even shorter for a project like Mandalorian, because it's been around a quarter of the time. So with that being said, I don't think that Mando is in a good enough spot right now within its own fan base or the Star Wars fan base as a whole to say, okay, now instead of the monthly subscription that you're getting, come on down here Friday night, give me a $9.50, give me a $10.50, your $14 somewhere, and come see this on the big screen and expect to be able to recoup the budget that you need to make a movie like that. I don't feel like that's where we're at with Mando.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And then the delay just makes things even worse.
It makes it even worse. Yeah. Like, it's not this. The problem that they have right now with Grogu and Mando is not going to get better with time.
Right.
They need to be seen again in the favorable light that they were in season 2 and season 1.
Yeah. That's fair. I know you feel differently about Dune Messiah being in development.
Hell yeah. See, the reason why I don't give a shit about all this Star Wars travesty that's happening right now is because we got Dune. Because Dune is back. They're fast tracking another installment. The game is coming out. Stuff is perpetuating. I wouldn't be surprised if Warner Brothers found their way into a series that was related to Dune. Because it's hot right now. Yeah. I think it's headed towards $700 million at the box office. Just, man, I couldn't be happier for a franchise, to be honest with you. It's in a space right now where most of the giants are struggling.
Still in a void for you.
Yeah, and outside of this, like, there's really nothing to call home about Warner Brothers. So at the same time that they're not really dominating the market share, there's one thing that they're doing that is pleasing me in the sci-fi space, and that's Dune.
Got you. Denis Villeneuve is directing a movie by the name of Nuclear War, a scenario which very much seems to be a spiritual successor to Oppenheimer.
It's an interesting Oppenheimer. So instead of us talking about historical events and us stretching that thing on out for 2.5, 3 hours almost, What we're actually going to show you is the shit that you want to see. Right? Is the bomb going off and in the fallout? What happens if we actually press the button? What happens if the world actually ends? And not because of a zombie apocalypse, because of an ice age, or some random disease. What if some of the most powerful people on the planet decide that total calamity is the only answer and they press the button? What does that look like? Now, that's the Oppenheimer that I wanted to see, not fucking Truman and Einstein. And
they had to speak to an actual historical event as opposed to.
I still haven't seen that damn movie.
That's crazy.
I still have not seen it. I've seen Barbie and I haven't seen Oppenheimer.
Oh, I still haven't seen Barbie.
I've seen Barbie. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet.
Yeah. All right, Fantastic Four has some news, but the biggest thing to me is the fact that Lakeith Stanfield thought he was supposed to be cast as Silver Surfer.
Well, we can't just skip to that. We can't skip to that. We got to start with old girl from Ozark, my boy Ruth from Ozark, getting cast as Shia LaBeouf as the Silver Surfer.
Mm-hmm.
So going with Shia LaBeouf, first of all, instead of going with Norman Rad, is increasingly frustrating. So we're doing we're still doing the female led characters and some of these roles, in which it's not the female characters, it's the position they're being put in that positions it to be a gender bend or a gender swap. That is frustrating. Shia LaBeouf is a love interest of Norman Rad.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly to how we were being convinced that, Shuri was a legitimate, Black Panther because she wore the suit during the Hudlin run for those 12 issues. It happened in the comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
The similar defense was coming online for this. Oh, Shia LaBeouf was a Silver Surfer.
Mm-hmm.
Fam, I think she was Silver Surfer for one issue.
Mm.
Even less so than Shuri.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're at a point where even less is required in terms of that Marvel requirement that it has a basis in the comics.
Sure.
I mean, it's dwindling.
Yeah, pretty soon it's
that
going
requirement
to be fictional as it pertains to the actual comics.
Like at this point, the damn Porky Pig Spider-Man is continuity. Like he's canon. He's real.
Or we're just gonna start making stuff up on the fly.
It is getting terrible. It's getting terrible. And so that now we're introducing the love interest of Norman Rad before Norman Rad. What version of storytelling are we? So then it would make sense to introduce Black Cat before we introduce Spider-Man.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
It would make sense to introduce Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy before we introduce Spider-Man. That makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Matter of fact, it makes sense for Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy to be in the Spider-Man suit before we ever see Spider-Man.
It makes perfect sense.
Right? Because that makes it. We should start the X-Men off with Laura Kinney and not Logan. That's what we should do. That's a winning recipe.
Absolutely.
Female Logan before Logan as a backdoor to Logan. Like, this move does not tell me 100% that we're getting Norman Rad, that we're getting this guy. Doesn't tell me that we're getting that just because she has a loose connection to him. Yeah. There's been so many examples of Marvel throwing out loose connections to things that never play out. Right now, that is total speculation, and we have no reason to believe that the Silver Surfer in the MCU is going to be anybody other than Ruth from Ozark.
Especially since you cast a person who's going to demand a nice little paycheck. Now, you didn't just cast them for this one thing, and then it's going to go to Norman Rad.
We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of things about this project that we got that we're starting to find out. So it's going to be a period piece. Right. Franklin and Valeria are going to be there. We're going to start the movie with Sue being pregnant with Franklin. Which was an interesting take because I feel like while a standard origin story probably wasn't the best way to go, I don't think we've ever really gotten the story of how the Fantastic Four got together on the big screen. they've always been an established team when it started, even the fan four stick shit. Right? They were already an established team. They never came together.
Yeah.
We never saw Reed meet Victor Von Doom. We never seen Storm and Reed meet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We never seen Storm and Johnny as children or anything like that. So it's maybe we didn't have to do like your standard run-of-the-mill origin story, but it may have been a good look to maybe go all the way back to when the group got together.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Reed and Ben meeting for the first time, becoming best friends. Did we just become best friends? Yup.
That's great.
You know what I'm saying?
Or maybe they just feel like it'd be too hard to explain why the Fantastic Four hasn't been involved in.
Well, I think that was the whole point of them making it a period piece, making it, back in time kind of thing. But even still, with that, if you're gonna take us back to, it's also alternate universe, whatever. Time, reality, they're kind of conflating it anyways.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, it does give you the opportunity to explain a little bit further, to create your own course. Mm-hmm. If it's broken from, or at least, presently as they're going to start, if it's broken from the main Marvel continuity, you can do virtually anything.
Yeah.
They were Avengers. They introduced the X-Men. They did this. They did that. You could do literally anything.
Including creating a trilogy where you can properly introduce them the way that you're suggesting.
Well, they're fast-tracking this project so that they can get them into the MCU.
Sure.
So I don't think there's going to be any long progression like we had in Phase 1, which oddly enough was the most successful versions of character development that we've seen. But I digress.
But Lakeith Stanfield.
So the Lakeith Stanfield thing, people were speculating that is the reason why we may still get Norrin Rad. Like they may have been casting them both. Like if he was that sure that he would say something in public about it and then later delete the tweet, that does seem to say that he was told something and then later told something else about his response to what he was told.
And told to delete that bullshit.
And so there may be some stuff working with Lakeith and they're trying to keep that quiet so that it's a surprise. Maybe they only announced the female surfer to kind of get people, ruffle people's feathers because they love rage baiting. Disney as a company loves rage bait. And then, have Norrin Rad be the big reveal that actually comes out in the movie. Not a bad idea if that's the route that we're actually going. I just have zero confidence that that's where we're getting.
Keith Stanfield and Ruth from Ozark is nuts.
If they're gonna spend the entire time, in the silver suits, it doesn't really bother me.
Sure.
Now the parts of it that have to show them in their human form is gonna be nuts. Yeah, it's gonna be insanity.
I'm just saying,
but
crazy pairing.
95% of their time as these characters is going to be spent looking just like that. Yeah, so
still,
it's not a big deal.
Teaser trailer for Bambi as a part of the Twisted Childhood universe.
Bam! I seen the Bambi trailer. I don't know if anybody else did.
Did not.
It looks nuts.
I would imagine.
It looks nuts.
I would imagine.
It's like it's giving a little bit of Cocaine Bear. Little bit of Blood and Honey, definitely some ridiculousness going on there.
Bambi's out for revenge.
It is a souped up Bambi.
Bambi's out for revenge, y'all.
What I took from the trailer is that the hunter who actually killed Bambi's mom was talking about killing Bambi's mom, and then we got a peek of Bambi.
How did I know?
And then we got a peek of Bambi.
Called
craziness. Flipping a goddamn truck with his antlers. The deer the size of a moose.
Well, the next one's supposedly Peter Pan.
Yeah, see, we don't have to get too deep into all of it. We don't have to ruin every story from
that's what they had on that list.
No, we don't got
that's the next one according to their Twisted Childhood universe.
Just imagine what the fantasy island where the kids never grow up is actually going to be in that movie.
That's insane.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what it is. It's going to be Epstein's Island.
Yo. That is wild. Woo! All right, moving on. Since we spoke about Invincible, obviously we review it. Robert Kirkman says he wants every episode of season 3 to feel like a finale, which means he's going to take a huge break in between episodes.
Yeah, let's do away with the hiatus. But I'm not mad at this. This is giving like season. When did Battle of the Bastards happen? Was that season 6 of Game of Thrones? Probably the best season of Game of Thrones.
Before the 2 worst ones?
We got the Red Wedding. We got Battle of the Bastards. We got something else. All of that happened in season 3. It was like 3 very big events that happened in season 3 of Game of Thrones before they got into that bullshit. Season 7 was the warning shot for season 8. Like, things really started getting haywire there. But in season 6, everything kind of felt like a very climactic ending. Like, shit was happening. You know what I mean? Oh. You don't watch Game of Thrones.
I do not.
Something big happened with Pedro Pascal's character in season 6 of Game of Thrones. He was in Game of Thrones.
Okay.
He was Oberyn Martell from House Martell.
No, it doesn't sound like it. House Martell?
Or House Martell.
Where's Tate?
Anyways, let's move.
Okay. Bob Iger's out here talking. Says, well, let's talk about the main thing. The term woke is thrown around rather liberally. No pun intended in that regard. I think a lot of people don't even understand really what it means.
Not a clue. Right on the nose.
Bob Iger being right about
very woke. Odd that the old Jewish guy, the old Jewish CEO of Disney,
being absolutely right about woke.
Is absolutely right about woke. More right than some of the black commentators that have found their way to start using it. But 100% right. Which makes it so odd that he's 100% wrong for the next thing he's about to talk about.
Bob Iger on a potential Disney Plus Hulu merger with Netflix or Max. I think there are some possibilities there.
Fam, you're cable. you're cable. Y'all are cable.
That's crazy.
Explain to me how streaming is different from cable. Okay, so we're going to have this large library of content that you can choose from and you watch. It's going to be streamed online, right? But then slowly but surely our prices are going to start matching, or at least incrementally, the equivalent of what we could provide in a cable package to what we could provide on a streaming package is going to be the equivalent, right? So it's like that section that Disney would naturally provide you in your cable package is what we were going to provide you in your streaming percentage. So that's what you're really paying for, right? And so now that hasn't necessarily been a model for exponential growth or, growing subscribers. So now we're going to hitch our wagon to other companies and try to give a bundled experience. So now, National Geographic and Hulu are going to be a part of our Disney bundle. But, that's not successful either. We're just going to fully leech ourselves to competitors in a sort of cable package.
Yeah. Yep.
All the way back to ground zero where we were already in a package with our competitors before.
Yep. You're going to pay us instead of the cable companies.
It's almost as like our problem was doing business with the companies we were doing business with and not the model. It's almost as cable wasn't the issue. It was just that we had to split profits with these few companies that we don't like that we're actually competing with. So let's just try to X them out and do our own business. And when that didn't work, we'll just try to create our own cable package, our own cable industry. And we'll call it streaming.
Makes sense.
Not to mention the monopoly powers that comes from stuff like this. Like,
Sure.
Come on, man.
Sure.
Come on, man. But yes, let's starve all of the writers and producers and VFX artists while they're losing their homes because we need that money. We need that dollar. Dollar bills, y'all.
Just fuck them. That's why.
Yeah. Good quote, bad quote by Bob Iger.
For sure. Monkey Man, the Indian John Wick.
Oof.
10 million box office. Also, I didn't know that they had like they're being praised for having essentially trans characters in it.
I
hope
hope
that was a part of it.
I hope that however they are centered in the film is not reflective of its box office draw, because that would seem to suggest that maybe they centered that a little bit higher than the overall storytelling, which doesn't seem to be a theme of Dave Patel's work, right? Like is it Dev Patel or Dave?
Dev Patel.
Excuse me, Dev Patel's work.
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen, I like
a
lot of stuff.
Jordan Peele.
See, I never know when Jordan Peele is actually creatively involved or just slap my name on it type shit.
Question.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Because again, executive producer to me screams I paid to be attached to this project.
Sure.
I added funding to this project. I am an executive producer, i.e. Steph Curry to Good Times. I don't think that Steph Curry was sitting in the writer's room when this was being created. I don't think he was there storyboarding. I don't think he was there during table reads. I think he cut a check and got an executive producer title. So if that's where Jordan Peele is on this, okay. If he had some creative direction, I don't know how to tell the difference.
Sure. I also feel like Monkey Man didn't necessarily get a lot of publicity.
And they also only spent about $10 million making it too. So it wasn't like it had an exorbitant budget.
A lot of that went to marketing.
But the fact that Dev Patel's name alone couldn't get it over $10 million, that doesn't speak well. And I was actually really excited to see this movie.
Agreed.
Not really great. That's not great at all.
No.
No. So the showrunner for the Avatar Last Airbender series on Netflix, Albert Kim, is stepping down from that position. He's going to be the executive producer for Disney now on the Percy Jackson series, which I've yet to even crack open. Not really interested. But that was a bit surprising.
You hating on Percy Jackson, bro?
I'm not hating on Percy Jackson. It's just not something that I was very keen on seeing. Haven't really heard a lot of buzz on it. It's one of those quiet failures for Disney, like Willow. Anybody see Willow? Anybody heard of Willow? Huh? Yeah, it's one of those silent failures that they're kind of like pushing to their back. But they're seeming to get a gut punch into that adaptation, similarly to like what we got from the Airbender series on Netflix. So what's more surprising to me is that Albert Kim was willing to walk away from the Airbender series so early and go with Disney, who's not in a very dissimilar spot with adaptations.
I was gonna say, it seems like y'all liked the Avatar series.
I liked it. The reviews online were so-so. Rotten Tomatoes treated it as so-so.
I would argue still probably better than
what they're getting from Percy Jackson. Like, it's had to come with a raise and also maybe a direction from Disney that they're trying to maybe, stunt some of their competitors in this space. Because Lord knows they can't compete on the merit. Lord knows they can't compete on the merit. So this does seem to be business savvy on Disney's part and a little bit of apathy on Albert Kim's part, that maybe it wasn't as universally accepted as a project as he may have liked, which seems to be a little bit short-sighted to me. Sure. That's my opinion on it all. I have no insider information on how all this played out or why any of these decisions were made. But just kind of viewing it as a fan, it seems like the reception wasn't as great as maybe we anticipated it being. Here's this opportunity for more money at a competitor. Why not? I don't really see anything beyond that would make me say that Percy Jackson as an adaptation is that much better or it's like
what you were already working on.
If you were doing Airbender and then somebody called you to do a Dragon Ball Z live action adaptation, I'd say, okay, that's a level up. Somebody asked you to come and do a Attack on Titan live action adaptation. Okay, that's a level up. Airbender to Percy Jackson is a lateral move. So outside of a pay bump, I don't really get why you would move.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Maybe we'll get more information going forward.
Maybe. Any other thoughts for Behind the Cape at all?
That's it, man. I feel like that was even though we had a lot of topics, that was a pretty quick round.
Yeah.
Pretty quick round.